You think marriage is about love, right? A romantic choice two people make when they find their person. But here's the thing. Nobody tells you at weddings. For most of human history, marriage had absolutely nothing to do with love. Not even a little bit. It started as a transaction, a survival strategy, a way to stop people from fighting each other. And the real origin story of marriage is so strange, so cold, and so practical, that once you know it, you'll never look at a wedding the same way again. Let's go back, way, way back. About 2 million years ago, there was no marriage, no weddings, no vows, no rings. Early humans lived in small roaming bands, maybe 20 or 30 people, and here's the part that makes people uncomfortable at family dinners. Nobody paired off exclusively. Males and females mated with multiple partners, freely, no rules, no commitments, and honestly, that's how it worked for them. Here's why: women could feed themselves. Back when humans survived mostly on fruits, nuts, and insects, a woman could gather food while carrying a baby at the same time. She didn't need a man around to survive, and if she doesn't need him, he has no reason to stick around. So he didn't. But then, something changed. The climate shifted. Forests started shrinking, and humans moved out into open grasslands, the savanna. And out there, the food was different. Meat became the main course. Big animals hard to catch, dangerous to hunt. And this one shift, from plants to meat, quietly set off a chain reaction that would eventually invent marriage. Here's something wild about human babies that we just accept as normal. They are completely useless at birth. A baby chimp can cling to its mother within hours. A human newborn, it can't hold its own head up for months. It can't walk for over a year. It needs constant attention for years. Why? Because meat changed the human diet so dramatically that babies started being born earlier, before their brains were fully developed. Because the head had gotten so big it could barely fit through the birth canal. So now you have a woman who's exhausted, recovering, caring for a completely helpless infant, and she can't gather food at the same time anymore. She suddenly needs help, and that's when something new happened. A male carrying meat back from a hunt realized something. If he shared his food specifically with one female, that female would let him be with her specifically. And any children that were born, they were more likely to be his. This was the first marriage, not a ceremony, not a vow, just a deal. Food in exchange for loyalty. Loyalty in exchange for protection. Brutally simple, completely unromantic, and it worked so well that the couples who did this, their children survived more often than the ones who didn't. Evolution rewarded the deal. But there was another problem lurking in these small bands of 20 or 30 people. When your entire community is that small, everyone is related to everyone, and humans figured out, not through science, just through watching what happened, that when closely related people had children together, those children were weaker, sicker, less likely to survive. We now know why. Inbreeding concentrates bad genetic mutations. But ancient humans didn't know genetics. They just knew. Something was going wrong when you kept it in the family. So here's where marriage gets its second job. Groups started forming rules. You can't marry someone from your own family. You have to find a partner from another group. And suddenly, marriage became a political tool. You give your daughter to the neighboring tribe's son. Now you have an alliance. A trade relationship. A reason not to attack each other. Archaeologists found evidence of this in a 34,000-year-old burial site in Russia. 4 individuals buried together with elaborate jewelry, showing signs of deliberate non-inbreeding. These early humans were actively choosing partners from outside their group. That's not instinct, that's a system. That's policy. That's the birth of marriage as an institution. For thousands of years, that system, loose partnerships, intertribe alliances, worked fine. Then farming happened, about 10,000 years ago, and everything got darker. When humans started growing food and staying in one place, a new concept emerged that completely changed why people got married: property. Suddenly, land was valuable, crops were valuable, livestock was valuable, and it all needed to be passed down to someone when you died. But here's the problem: a man could never be truly certain which children were his. Women knew their children were theirs. They were there at the birth. Men, they had to trust. So farming cultures solved this, the ugly way control. Marriage became a contract of ownership. A man could legally bind a woman to him, ensuring any children she had were exclusively his. The ancient wedding phrase said out loud at ceremonies was shockingly honest about this. A father would hand his daughter to her husband saying, roughly translated, "I pledge my daughter for the purpose of producing legitimate offspring. Not love, not happiness. Legitimate offspring, so the land goes to the right person." If a wife couldn't get pregnant, in many ancient cultures, the husband could simply return her, like returning damaged goods. This is what marriage was, for most of recorded history, a property contract with a human being as part of the terms. So when exactly did love enter the picture? Much later than you'd think. Somewhere around the 12th century in medieval Europe, something genuinely new appeared: romantic love as a reason to be with someone. French poets and troubadours started writing about it. Men were told to woo women, to compliment their eyes, their hair, to compete for their attention. It sounds sweet, but even then, love was mostly a performance. An ideal, most people still married who their family told them to marry. Marrying purely for love as the primary reason only became the actual norm in Western cultures in the 1800s. Think about that. Humans have existed for 300,000 years. Marriage as a love-based institution is at most 200 years old. We are living inside a completely new experiment in human history. And here's the wild irony of it all. The moment we made marriage about love, the divorce rate went up, because for thousands of years, marriage wasn't expected to make you happy. It was expected to be useful. The moment we asked it to do something it was never designed to do, to be the source of our deepest emotional fulfillment, our best friendship, our greatest passion, all in one person forever. That's when it started to crack. Historian Stephanie Kuntz, who spent decades studying marriage, called this the most radical change in marriage's history. She said, "We have essentially asked marriage to do too many jobs at once." So let's come back to where we started. You're at a wedding. The couple is glowing. Everyone's crying happy tears, and now you know what you're watching is actually the end result of 2 million years of evolution. Survival calculations, property law, and diplomatic treaties. Finally, very recently, deciding to also be about love. That's not cynical, that's extraordinary. Because the fact that we took a system built entirely on survival and utility, and slowly, stubbornly over centuries, bent it into something about joy and connection, that says something pretty remarkable about human beings. Marriage went from a food deal to an anti-inbreeding system, to a property contract, to a romantic ideal in that order. And we're somewhere near the end of that timeline right now, still figuring out what comes next. Some people are abandoning it entirely. Some are redesigning it. Some are holding on to it tighter than ever. But however you feel about marriage personally, at least now you know what you're actually dealing with. A 2 million-year-old survival strategy wearing a white dress. So, do you think we got marriage right yet? Or are we still figuring it out? Drop your answer in the comments. I genuinely want to know what you think. And if this made you see something familiar in a completely different way, that's exactly what this channel is for. History isn't just old stuff. It's the reason everything around you exists. See you in the next one.